Right, let's talk about America, the land of the free, the home of the brave, and, for many, the ultimate symbol of opportunity and reinvention. It's a place where skyscrapers scrape the clouds, highways stretch for miles, and the promise of a better life draws people from every corner of the globe. But before you can chase your American dream, you'll have to face a challenge that tests your patience and your sanity: the infamous bureaucratic maze. It's a rite of passage that can turn even the most optimistic traveler into a paperwork-weary skeptic. For millions, the US is more than a spot on the map. It's a dream destination, a place where families hope to reunite, students aspire to study, and adventurers yearn to explore iconic cities and breathtaking landscapes. But before you can snap a selfie at the Bean, or marvel at the architectural wonders of Chicago, or survive a New York subway ride packed with locals and tourists alike, you need a golden ticket, a visa. This small sticker in your passport is your key to the American adventure. Think of a visa as a permission slip from the US government. Okay, you can come in, but don't get any funny ideas. It's their way of saying, "We're watching." It's a stamp that proves you've filled out endless forms, answered questions about your life, your job, your family, and sometimes even your childhood pets. You've convinced a consular officer you're not planning to become a rogue street performer in Times Square, or disappear into the American wilderness. The process, fees, interviews, and scrutiny that would make a tax auditor blush. Every detail is examined, every answer double-checked. You pay a non-refundable fee, gather documents that prove your ties to home, and hope you haven't missed a single signature or stamp. Then comes the interview, where you explain, sometimes desperately, why you must see Mount Rushmore or why your cousin's wedding in Texas is truly unmissable. The rules are meant to ensure visitors go home when their vacation ends, but the solutions can feel like a dystopian game show, with new twists at every turn, and the constant fear of being sent back to start. And just when you thought it couldn't get more complicated, the US government added a new twist: a security deposit worth thousands. It's like a plot twist in a movie you didn't want to watch. This isn't just a fee, it's a bond, a chunk of cash held hostage to guarantee you'll leave. If you overstay, say goodbye to your hard-earned money. And that, my friends, is where our story truly begins. The journey to America is more than a flight. It's a test of patience, persistence, and sometimes pure luck. So what's this visa bond rule everyone's talking about? Why is it suddenly making headlines and causing so much confusion and concern among travelers and families hoping to visit the United States? In short, it's like a security deposit for your visit, except instead of a few $100 for a hotel room, you could be asked to put down as much as $15,000 just to set foot in the country. Here's how it works. If you're flagged as someone who might overstay your visa, you're required to pay a bond, $5,000, $10,000, or even $15,000 to a surety company. This money is then held by the US government as a kind of insurance policy. The idea is simple: if you leave the US on time, you get your money back. It's supposed to be a guarantee of good behavior, a way to prove you'll follow the rules. But if you overstay, you lose every penny. No appeals, no second chances. That money is gone for good. For many families, especially those from countries with lower incomes, losing that much money would be absolutely devastating. It could mean years of savings wiped out in an instant. Suddenly, what should be a joyful trip to visit loved ones or see new places turns into a nerve-wracking high-stakes gamble. Every travel plan comes with the risk of financial ruin. The policy doesn't just make travel harder, it creates a two-tier system. On one side, those who can afford the bond breeze through. On the other, millions are effectively locked out, their dreams put on hold simply because they can't pay. And don't forget, this bond is not a replacement for the usual visa fees or paperwork. It's an extra barrier, stacked on top of all the existing hurdles and red tape. The message is loud and clear. We don't trust you, so we'll hold your life savings hostage until you prove otherwise. It's a fundamentally cynical approach, making visitors pay, literally, for suspicion and treating every traveler as a potential rule breaker before they even arrive. It feels less like a welcome mat and more like a financial shakedown at the door, demanding payment before you're even allowed to enter. The bond doesn't just discourage overstays, it discourages visits altogether. Many will simply give up, deciding the risk and cost aren't worth it. For countless people, the American dream, once a symbol of hope and opportunity, just got priced out of reach, replaced by a wall of financial barriers. It's a policy that says, prove your innocence with your wallet, show us you can pay, or don't bother coming at all. And for most people around the world, That's simply impossible. The door isn't just closed, it's locked, and the price of the key is out of reach. Don't worry, not everyone had to cough up 15 grand. The policy targeted citizens from specific countries, mostly in Africa and Asia, deemed high risk for overstays. If you were from Nigeria, Afghanistan, or Yemen, for example, you were automatically under suspicion. The burden was on you to prove you'd return home, and maybe to come up with a life-altering sum. This blanket targeting punished entire populations for the actions of a few. It didn't matter if you were a doctor, a grandmother, or an entrepreneur, your passport alone put you on the hook. For most in these countries, the bond was an impossible sum, effectively slamming the door shut. It was a poor person's travel ban, plain and simple. US officials claimed this was about enforcement and national security, combating visa overstays. The logic: if you risk losing a fortune, you'll follow the rules. They called it a targeted deterrent, not a punishment, meant to close a loophole without harsher measures. The bond was supposed to save resources by preventing overstays before they happened. But the human cost? Ignored. The policy treated travel as a transaction, not a human experience. On paper, it looked logical. In reality, it was cold, clinical, and deeply out of touch. The reaction? Outrage, both moral and practical. Travelers, lawyers, and human rights groups condemned the rule as discriminatory and cruel. Critics called it a wealth test, a thinly veiled travel ban, and a blow to America's reputation as a welcoming nation. Even the travel industry warned it would cost billions in lost tourism. The policy united activists and hotel lobbyists in rare agreement. It was bad for people and bad for business. The consensus: the visa bond was a cruel, counterproductive idea that solved nothing and hurt many. It punished the innocent, damaged America's image, and made visiting nearly impossible for millions. The world's message: are you kidding me? Behind every policy, there are real people with real dreams, hopes that stretch across continents and oceans, connecting families, friends, and futures. These aren't just numbers or statistics, they are individuals whose lives are shaped by decisions made far from their homes. Picture a Ghanaian businesswoman who has spent years saving every spare dollar, planning to visit her sister in Texas. She imagines the reunion, the laughter, the memories they'll make. But suddenly she's told she must pay a $10,000 bond just to apply for a visa. Her trip is canceled, and the family remains separated by bureaucracy and cost. Or consider a young Pakistani developer, brimming with talent, who receives a coveted invitation to a Silicon Valley conference. This could be his big break, a chance to change his life. But a $15,000 financial barrier stands in his way, turning opportunity into disappointment. Or a Yemeni family, longing for a brief, safe visit with loved ones in America, only to be blocked by an impossible financial demand. Their hopes for reunion are dashed, replaced by worry and heartache. The rule didn't just block tourists, it shut out talent, stifled ambition, and severed the ties that bind families together. It created invisible walls, keeping people apart not because of who they are, but because of what they can afford. Students lost scholarships and the chance to study abroad. Artists missed out on sharing their work with the world. Ordinary people were denied life-changing moments. Graduations, reunions, even final goodbyes. The human cost wasn't just a distant idea, it was missed weddings, lost opportunities, and families kept apart by paperwork and price tags. The policy valued a security deposit over human dignity, reducing dreams to dollar amounts and treating hope as a risk to be managed. It sent a clear message: if you're not wealthy, your dreams don't matter. Opportunity became a privilege, not a right. These aren't just hypotheticals, they are the real, lived consequences of a policy that put barriers where bridges should be. For many, the American dream became a closed door, a hope glimpsed from afar but never reached. All because of a rule that put suspicion and money above people, turning journeys of hope into stories of loss. Was this $15,000 shakedown permanent? Thankfully, no. The Visa Bond pilot program was a 6-month experiment, rolled out in late 2020 by the Trump administration. The idea test if huge bonds would reduce overstays. For those caught in the window, pilot or not, the pain was real. When Biden took office, the program was allowed to expire and was not renewed. The State Department called it ineffective and inconsistent with fair, humane immigration. but the precedent is set. The idea of a wealth test for visitors is no longer theoretical. The pilot is over, but the threat of its return lingers. Still want to visit the US? You're brave, and you'll need to be prepared. The bond rule is gone, but the visa process is still tough. Start early, months in advance. Check your local US Embassy's website for the latest rules. Honesty and thoroughness are key. Prove you have strong ties to your home country, job, property, family. Gather documents, employment letters, bank statements, proof of property, family connections. The interview is crucial. Be calm, concise, and direct. Have your documents ready, don't ramble, answer questions simply and clearly, stay updated, policies can change fast. Don't book non-refundable travel until your visa is approved. The lesson, the rules aren't set in stone. Be informed, be ready. The American dream is still possible, but it takes work. Good luck, and if you make it, have a burger for me. And remember, bureaucracy is the real final boss. What did we learn from the visa bond saga? Sometimes a government's solution is worse than the problem. The $15,000 bond was a sledgehammer for a statistical nut, punishing the innocent, alienating allies, and damaging America's image. It was based on the flawed idea that a bank account and a passport define intent. Most visitors follow the rules. They come, they see, they go home. The policy treated millions as potential criminals, ignoring the person behind the paperwork. The program is gone, but its ghost lingers, a warning about discriminatory policymaking. The real problem isn't a few overstays, it's a mindset that sees foreigners as threats, not guests. The price tag is gone, but the lesson remains: trust and dignity matter more than a security deposit. Let's not forget that.